Okay, today we'll be installing this 11-stage reverse osmosis with the UV filter and the alkalizer filter in there. And we'll get it installed here and run a supply line through the back of the cabinets, pull out the slide-in range, and go behind it to the ice machine. So the fridge, this one doesn't happen to have a water dispenser, but it has a ice machine in it. So the RO will be supplying filtered water to the fridge ice. Now the thing is, in Arizona, the water is really bad here, and if you just have a fridge filter, the fridge filters last about 2 weeks. Then we test them, and the particles per million goes back up to the original 500 particles per million from the city water. Now this will bring it down, the RO system, between 5 and 30 particles per million, and generally humans can taste the level of 50 and below for particles per million. So we're going to get this guy installed in here. The other thing we're going to do is I don't have to drill through the granite or quartz countertop, which I'm happy to do, but what we're going to do is put it in the soap dispenser hole, so the RO faucet will be there. So let's get started. I'm going to pull out the soap dispenser here. Okay, so in kitchens and faucets everywhere, hot is on the left and cold is on the right. That's traditionally how it goes. So I'm going to take this off and do a splitter. It'll tee it out. One will go for the reverse osmosis, the other one will go to the faucet there. So you can always tell the hot because the dishwasher, usually it tees off. One's to the faucet, this one's to the dishwasher. So, and then I do need to unscrew that up there. That's the bottom of the soap dispenser. Call them if there's a problem. Okay, so this is the UV light bulb and the glass. Okay, so here is the UV light casing. Here's the alkalizer filter, which corrects the pH. So RO makes a distilled water, so it'll correct the pH between 7.2 and 7.8. This is the reverse osmosis membrane. And then traditionally you have a sediment, a carbon, and a carbon. And then they have the activated carbon charcoal filter, which is behind here, that third one. So let's unpackage this puppy. Yeah, the water in Arizona is just really, really bad. So it comes from the city government. I guess the EPA standard is that the water quality should be 500 particles per million or less, which I should go get the tester and we'll test that out. Let's get this all unpackaged first. Nice instruction manual with all the filters right there. This is the storage tank. It comes pre-charged with about 15, 16 pounds of PSI. So when you turn on the RO faucet, which I'll show you later. So when you turn this faucet on right here, it's not the city pressure that's necessarily pumping the water to it. It's actually the air bladder inside this tank. So inside this tank, you'll see there is actually like a tire Schrader valve. So like you pump up your tire on your bicycle. So there's a Schrader valve in here, and it has, this is usually pre-charged with about 15 PSI. So what happens is the city pressure, that comes from the government or city, it is about 70 to 80 PSI. It pushes the filtered water through the system, through that, and it fills up this tank, and this air balloon in here, this rubber tire, for lack of, it's a bubble, it compresses as it fills up, because this is 80 PSI and this is 15 PSI. It's going to fill this up until it stops. So when you pull the faucet handle, this bladder in here pushes out the water and feeds it to the refrigerator on the other side of the room here and to the faucet. So that's how that works. So sometimes when people turn on their faucet and they only get a little cup of water, it's because this is air bladder in here has punctured or is leaked, or the air is leaked out of here. So that's something to think about. These tanks usually last a couple of years, maybe longer, but they're not very expensive, 30 bucks, 40 bucks. So sometimes it's the tank that needs to get replaced. So put that aside, and this is the The cool thing is that this tank just fills up. It gets water pushes in it and then water pushes out of it. So that's why there's not an in and out because of the air bladder. Now, you can put the tank sideways underneath the sink if you have other things in there that are in the way, or you can put it up like that. Now, the whole idea behind this is just to keep it off of the grounds because this is metal. We don't want it to rust, but they can rust if there is a crack in the paint. But that's the whole purpose, is this just to prevent it from rusting. So I'm going to set that aside. Now these are the filters. This is the activated carbon block. This one says, come on out of there. This one says granular activated carbon. Remember I said sediment, carbon, carbon. So that's what these are. And this must be the sediment, which is the first filter that goes through there. So yeah, SED says sediment filter. So this is the first one in the line of defense. These filters here are primarily designed to protect the reverse osmosis membrane. So this does the pre-filters, and then the membrane does the real filtering. And some of systems only have a sediment and one carbon and the RO membrane. So you don't have to get this many stages, but I would, why not, right? It's a good system, and there'll be an affiliate link on Amazon, so if you want to buy one of these, that would be great. That would support me in my dream. So get these unwrapped and let you take a look at these. All right, so the first one is the sediment. And we're going to screw those on the bottom of this. So, and it really doesn't matter if these go this way or that way. They show a little picture here on the bottom. This one goes in the middle. This one goes there. It doesn't really matter though. So the first one is a sediment filter. So this is just a simple filter and it goes in there. Now there's a slot in the bottom, so sometimes it's good to go like this. Make sure it gets seated in. You can see that it's recessed there a little bit. And then there's the middle one. This granularly activated carbon removes chlorine, pesticides, unnatural taste, odors, and other organic chemicals. Now the first one is a dirt, basically. It says removes rust, dirt, silt, sand, and other sediments. And then the third one down here, it says removes chlorine, insecticides, benzene, taste, odors, and other organic chemicals. So I'm going to install the first one in the middle. Now there's a wrench in here that we'll use to tighten it. Also, I will mention, on these carbon filters, there is a gasket. So you got to make sure that gasket's on both the top and the bottom. So that seats up. Sometimes these can fall off and you won't be able to tighten it all the way. See how I tipped it upside down? So that gasket stayed in there, and it's right there. All right, now I'm going to get the wrench out, the tightening wrench. So there's a packet of goodies here. Some Teflon tape. All right, so all I'm going to do is tighten this on here. So all this whole system is 80 psi, so that's the city water. Now in some apartment communities, I've tested it out where it's 100 psi because they have no pressure reducing valve outside. So be aware of that, and sometimes apartments, condos are that way. But should be between the city pressure, should be between, like I said, 65, 70 to 80 psi. Okay, so the water comes in to the sediment, to the granular activated carbon, to the activated carbon block, and then it comes out and it goes in this guy right here. I bet you that's the hose. So we're going to connect this to that. Now this does not have a gasket in it, and it's a pipe thread, and they've already actually pre-wrapped this with Teflon tape. You can see the Teflon's tape in there. So just literally screw that in. And that's, as you go tighter, it's wider, so it's getting tighter and tighter as you go in. So right there. And to release this, you have to push down on this tab right there with your fingernail and lift this out. Because if you just pull this out, it won't go, because you have to depress this downward, that right there. So now we're going to push this down and seat it. And the other thing that I always install, which this kit has right here, these are little safety clips. And usually there's two different sizes of safety clips. This one all seems to be 1/4 inch. So I'm going to break those out. And that safety clip is real important, so if it gets bumped, it doesn't dislodge. And you see, check all your connections everywhere to make sure they all have safety clips. Okay, so I'm going to continue to unpack this so you have an idea of what's in here. So this is the large filter wrench. This next one is the small filter wrench, which goes on the reverse osmosis membrane in there. So that twists that off. We have the red line, yellow line, blue line, and white line. So pull all the rest of this out of here. Whoops. This goes on the tank. So let's go ahead and install that. And this doesn't have a gasket on the back side of that, so we're going to use Teflon tape to create a seal. And just so you know, pipe threads, they start skinny and they go wider. So as you tighten it down, this metal piece gets wider and wider and wider, and increases the strength of it not leaking. So that's pipe thread is that way. And they say to put 5 wraps around. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. And if you pull it, it'll stick in there. And I always do it the way, so if I'm tightening, righty-tighty, it ends this direction, so it's not going in the opposite way of how I applied the Teflon tape. So now we're going to twist this on. It just really needs to be, you know, man finger tight. I can put a wrench on there too, but sometimes if you do it too much, it'll crack the housing right here on this. And then also with plumbing, parallel is on, perpendicular is off. So if the water comes out here, that's parallel is on, and then that would be off, right? Because it comes out here, so that's perpendicular, and then that's on for plumbing. So that's true with most plumbing. Okay, so a reverse osmosis has a reverse feature to it. So what happens is the reverse osmosis membrane filters water. It also discharges water, and that's the black line right here on the back of the reverse osmosis membrane. And it has a balancer in there. So as some water goes out, some water is discharged. As you use the water in the faucet, some is discharged. So it reverses. So this connects up to your drain line. There's a hole right at the top here that the line goes into. It's the black, so the black goes in there, and then it discharges the waste down your drain. So I'm going to show you this later. We'll connect that up underneath there. We have some extra parts here. It says extra spare parts. So some gaskets. These black gaskets go here, and these ones go like on the end right here. So, and then here is the part where we connect it to the cold supply line, the shut-off valve underneath there. So we're going to connect this up, and there's a couple of different options. You don't have to use this piece because it reduces it to 3/8, but if you have that, which is more common, we're going to add that part on there. Now, this you'll see has a black gasket in there, so that's a compression, so we're just tightening it. So this supply goes to there, and that connects to the back side of the black, which is right here. Now, this part right here, it says flow that direction. That black line is the discharge line. Now this is a restrictor. So it restricts it based off of the filtering speed of the reverse osmosis membrane. So these are size, this restrictor is size. Otherwise, if it didn't have the restrictor, it's going to just be wasting water down the drain. It wants to restrict it from the 80 psi. So, and the flow rate of the reverse osmosis membrane. So they're matched. So like a 36 gallon per day reverse osmosis membrane will have a 300 size restrictor, and there's a chart for that. So let's see. This is what's known as a leak stopper. So we're going to install this. That's the nice thing about this kit. So if it senses a leak underneath the cabinet there, it'll turn the water off to this system. So, and this is basically a sponge system. So if there's 3 resets in here. So there's the box, how it looks. So what we do is we put the sponge in here, and if the sponge, so it sits like this, and you can screw it down into the floor. So we're going to put a sponge in here, one of these sponges, and if it gets water through the bottom, if it senses it, it moves this up, it snaps, and then it shuts the water off. So one's in, one's out. So that's how that works. That goes on the bottom like that. And this is the transformer for the UV light, and it'll turn green for work, or red that it needs to be replaced if the ballast goes out. So we put this underneath there, and you can look to see if it's green, good, red, bad. So, you know, these do wear out, might last a few years, but it is essential to have a UV light. It kills the microorganisms and all the little bad critters that are living. All right, so we have a modern faucet. So it comes with that. This guy goes right there. So the nice thing is that we have a hole. We don't have to drill a new hole here. All right, so this is the bottom washer. This goes on the top, and then this goes underneath the bottom. This is a push kind. There's several different kinds, but this will push on once we get it all installed. And then the blue line connects to it. So this goes on like this. And I'm gonna go underneath. We're gonna stick this underneath there and install it. So basically shows you the hookup. There's a nice chart here on how everything works. And the blue line is the faucet. And so that goes from right here on the pack. It'll show it right there. And the red goes to the supply line. So the red is the supply, which is, here's the supply valve to the leak stop valve. And then from there we have white to the side of the tank. So need to install the inlet. Now, also in here, there's a bunch of other pictures on different attachments and things like that. It shows you the UV light connection and all that. So this is the basic one there, basic install. And then if you go here, I just saw it. You can follow this step by step, which is nice. Shows to hook the drain line up. There's the system connections. You know, changing the filters, troubleshooting, and all that. So let's go to the UV light hookup. It's just like a slow, okay, so here is the different components. Let's see if we can get an idea of this. So what we have is this bottom one right there. This has the alkalizer UV light hookup. So it goes to alkalizer, in and out of the alkalizer to the UV light. It goes out of the UV light to the tank and then to the faucet. All right, so the next part is we're going to go put this piece in, which is this guy right here. It's got the Teflon tape around it. So we're going to push that. This is where it says in. It says in right there. Point that downward on the end. And if you look at your diagram here, it says right from there, it's got a white line to the shutoff valve. So we're kind of working in reverse. So here's your white line. I'm going to push that in there. Put your safety clip in. All right. Now, this goes on there. Sometimes I like to put it, you know, at a certain length right there. This time I'm going to loop it So, and this says in and out. So you got to make sure you have that correct. So this is the out supply because it goes in here, out to the reverse osmosis system. Safety clip. All right, so the red connects from the wall valve, shutoff valve, red to the in of this. So you can see it right here. So here's the wall valve, and it goes down to the leak stop sensor. And that goes right there. Safety clip on there. Now I'm not going to connect this yet, but the other end of this goes right there to that. This is the feed adapter valve quick connect. And I'm not going to connect this up right here quite yet. But that slides in there. And remember, with plumbing, parallel is on, perpendicular is off. So we're going to connect this up. Now it comes with, this is the 3/8 connector, and then this is a 1/2" connector. All right, it says it on here. Fits both 3/8 and 1/2". So there's a gasket in here, so we don't necessarily have to use Teflon tape because we're going to just be compressing that gasket. Now I know underneath the sink, it's 3/8 in and 3/8 out, not a 1/2", which is pretty common. So I'm going to get my wrenches, tighten this up nice and snug, and then we'll go and install this underneath there. This is the cold right here, so we got to connect this puppy on there just like that. So we're going to turn this off, and it's a mixing valve, so sometimes it's a good idea to just turn the hot off too, because if the hot gets tapped, water could come out here because it mixes hot and cold up above. So I'm going to release the pressure up above, turn my faucet on. It's off, and then I'm going to close it so the water doesn't drip down once we disconnect it. And sometimes I do this slowly, and I also test it up above. If the water didn't shut off upstairs, these get broken. So these break all the time. Now this happens to be a 1/4" turn, so it has a ball valve in it, so it's likely that it's not gonna leak, or be corroded. All right, so that's off of there. This guy gets installed right here like this. Now, one thing people don't realize that these wrenches are designed to go in one direction only. So this would tighten that way. You never want to go backwards because it'll slip. So it's made and designed, the angle of the teeth and how this works is it only goes this direction. So if you need to go the other way, twist around, go the other direction. So that's how that works. Pipe wrenches or slip lock or channel locks. Now this happens to spin too, so that's nice. So no matter how I tighten this, this will end up. Now, sometimes I'll hold on to this. I don't want to break the pipe in the wall there, so sometimes I'll put my thumb there as I'm tightening this up. All right, so that's good. This out of the way, and this is kind of just dripping there a little bit. So this has a gasket underneath it. So there's a gasket right here. So no need for Teflon tape. Tighten this down a little bit. And then sometimes I'm going to get another wrench and hold this. See how this is twisting? These can get pinched like that. And then you're like, the hot doesn't work, or it's flowing slowly. So I'm going to get another wrench and hold it this way. So hold this part so it doesn't twist like that. So let me grab another wrench real quick. You see how I have these two different directions? Because remember, channel locks are made to go in only one direction. This is the supply. So if I turn this perpendicular, it's off. Now I'm going to turn the water back on to the valve or to the faucet. So water's going all the way to the faucet. Now if I twist this, I'm going to get sprayed in the face. So I don't want to twist that. So we have water to here, and checking for leaks in any of these connections. So we're good to go here. I'm going to turn the hot back on and go up, test the water up above. So one trick that I use is I'm going to go to the top side, center this, and then pull up, and this will grab on here and tighten. So sometimes I'll tighten it when I'm a one guy show. What do we have next? So the cool thing is we can refer to your diagram here. So we got that installed. The valve. This is all assembled. We just have to connect the red line to this. We have this line connected to the balancer there. Now we have to connect the line from underneath the sink. So we'll do that next. We're going to install this piece right here, which is that tiny guy right there. It's real tiny. And that goes to this right here, the blue line. So we're going to do that and crawl underneath the sink and get that installed. Now this blue line, we put a T in, which will supply to the water to the fridge as well. So we're going to do that, but we'll get the whole system set up and working, and then we'll run the line for the refrigerator. So let's crawl underneath there and get this tube installed, and that other piece, where I put it, right here. So this just slides on underneath. It's a coupler. There's no difference between one side and the other, but we have to remember, be sure to use your safety clips. The color doesn't matter. Sometimes they're red, sometimes they're dark blue. This is a light blue version. So we're going to install 2 of these safety clips on there once we get this pushed into it. And actually, for ease, I'm going to install this part right now. There we go. Now it's seated in. Next, I'm going to push this up underneath the faucet. Okay, so now we're going to go on to the UV light install. So basically need to unscrew this. Now this is sealed up. The water goes in here and water goes out there. So take this off. We're going to install the bulb. So bulb, and goes inside the glass beacon or tube. That goes in there. And there's a spring that you can feel that it recesses into. Yeah. All right, so in here, there's a black gasket. It says UV O-ring, please refer to manual. Do not lubricate. So we're gonna, because it's gonna compress, we're gonna put that in the back of that and get it in there. Actually, I'm gonna put that around the glass like that, so it's around there. Hopefully that, yes, you can see that okay. The O-rings on the gasket, this is gonna go there. That goes in, and then we tighten it up. Okay, so here is the transformer. So this goes right in there. All right, so the bulb is connected. You see that? You can take it all the way out if you need to. And then this is the protective cover that kind of keeps the bulb in place there. So we're going to plug this in. All right, now to take this bad boy and get it down there. So first I'm going to connect up the supply line, which goes right here, and there's already a blue safety clip on here. So I'm going to take that blue safety clip off. That too, but sometimes when you do this a lot, you don't need every tool. So push that in to seat it and pull it out, and then snap that safety clip in. All right, so that goes through the whole system and goes to the faucet, which you can turn on up there. Now we're gonna put a T in this line to tee it to the fridge, but not right now. So this is the red line. Gets pushed in right here. There it seats. I'm gonna get the safety clip for that. All right, there's a safety clip. I still have to hook up the shutoff, leak stop, and then the drain line. So we'll do that next. Okay, now for the drain. So the drain connects right here. So let's get that connected up. All right, safety clip on. The safety clip on the back side of that too. All right, so that gets pushed in there. Remember the safety clip, so we gotta have that. This goes around the drain, and we drill a hole in the drain right where that goes into. So now this gasket is important. We need to put this gasket on. You take that center circle out. You take the tape off of it here. And that goes over that hole right there. Just like that. All right, so how this works is this clamps around there. There's one side for the nut goes in that side right there, and then the screw goes on this side, and that gets tightened on there, just like that. So now we got to go install this. Now, what I generally do is I stick a drill bit through here, get it drilled, remove it, finish the drill bit, and then I keep the drill bit in there while I'm tightening this off, because you don't want this hole to misalign and swivel while you're tightening it, then it's just blocked. So I'll show you that trick in a second. All right, so that's going to be my alignment hole. See, I put it in backwards there. So I'm going to stick this through, get the hole drilled, and then stick it through backwards or forward, doesn't matter. But I just need to keep this in there while I tighten this down so this doesn't rotate. Does that make sense? So the other part is, I'm going to zoom in here. Now, some people put it here on the side. I like to gravity, you know, I always think about that. So I'm going to put this this direction right here on this removable piece. Now, I like to put it after the P-trap. Technically, you should put it before the P-trap, but there's no way anything's going to go in the opposite direction because there's check valves and everything else. So I'm going to put this right here on this part that can be replaced. Now, it is possible that you could install this back here, which is fine as well, but this is a permanent part. This part, if you attach it here, this is a $5 part you can buy new, so it's a little less of a commitment. So I'm going to get my drill back in here and get this drilled. Now be careful not to drill all the way through so you don't have a hole in the bottom. So you got to be careful of that. I still need to connect this part right here to the tank, and that is the yellow line. So the yellow line will go to the top of the storage tank. So I'm gonna bring my tank down. Put my safety clip in. I can power this system up and get water running through it. So the only thing I do need to do is the leak sensor. So it is in the closed position now, or open position. There's the closed position. So I'm going to get this, it's closed now, so I don't have to worry about that flipping up unless I clip it. But I'm going to put the sponge in there. So we're going to put this in there. That part goes down. You can see it sticks out a little bit. So it'll get wet and expand. And we're going to drill this in and mount this in the bottom of the cabinet, or on, or make sure it sets in there. So I'm going to turn the water on now and see if there's any leaks or anything that needs to be adjusted. So it's all out and open. So turn this valve on right back here, the red one. I hear it filling up. So I'm going to shut the tank off because the black carbon in here would go into the tank. So I'm going to turn the faucet open up. I'm going to turn it on. So any water going through here, we're going to come through there. So, and then check for leaks, down here. So that'll come out with kind of a black murky water, and it's just the fresh carbon getting through the system. You'll see this will start filling up in here in the alkalizer filter in a second. Now it's going all through there. Okay, we're going to review this system really quick. So the water comes in right there. There's a red valve. It's parallel. So this is the supply line. It comes to the shutoff valve. Now when this gets wet right there, it'll flip up and turn the water off. I don't want to do it now because it's pressurized. The water comes in this white line to right here, and there's a word IN right there. It says in. So I can zoom in on that. In right there. So it goes through the sediment filter, the granulated activated carbon, and the activated carbon block. Comes out here, comes to a balancing device. It's that white thing down in there, right there. And then it comes to the end of the reverse osmosis membrane. So these three protect the reverse osmosis membrane. Comes through here, say ROM, reverse osmosis membrane. And then on the back side of the reverse osmosis membrane, there's the discharge and then the clean water that comes out. The black discharge goes through a restrictor right here. And then the black line goes, you can see the black line, and it goes to this right there. That thing right there is the discharge. So going back to the back of the reverse osmosis membrane. So this right here goes to the alkalizer filter. It goes through the alkalizer filter. The yellow goes to, the alkalizer filter, and then it goes into the UV light, out of the UV light, and then to the taste filter. So the taste filter goes in right here. I can see it's starting to fill up, the activated carbon going through there. So from here, it would fill up the tank and pressurize the system. I have the tank turned off right now because I want it to come out the faucet up above. So from here, if this is turned off, it's going to come out, or it's going to push water through this last carbon filter, the post-activated carbon, POC, and then it's going to come to the blue line up to the faucet. So as I see water starting to fill through here and go through the UV light and fill this up, it's going to start dripping out up there. So that is how the water flows. I'm going to put those screws in and get it mounted on the side of this. Oh, I heard the faucet just go. All right, so that's the first screw in. But if we come up here, we can see water is starting to flow through the system right there. See it? That turns off. And we're going to let that run for a little bit and get some of the pre-filter stuff out of here. All right, so let's do the next screw. All right, so I have to have the first screw done. I can hang it on there, and then I can mark where the second one goes. All right, sitting on the screw, get my pencil and line this up so it's level. Okay, one of the last things I need to do is screw this leak stop sensor in there. So what I'm going to do is I like to run these lines behind the RO system so they're kind of out of the way and not going to get bumped and dislodged. Okay, so this one is the leak stop sensor. It has a sponge, and so if it ever needs to replace it, this will pop up and you put a new sponge there. So I like to mount this up here where you can get to it. Now the idea behind this is that if there's a leak, this pops up. You can test it right now, and that depressurizes the system and it'll stop coming out of the faucet up above right now. So, but we're going to reset that, and now if this gets wet, you got to replace the sponge. So here are the replacement sponges. We'll seal them up there. It's kind of a bad spot to put them in case it gets wet, but they are in sealed containers. Okay, so I'm going to mount this ballast here for the UV light up here. So you can see that it's working. It's plugged in. You can see it's green right now. It says work and then fault. So I'll put that. All right, so we'll run this cord back there. All right, so the next part of the equation is running a supply line over to the fridge. We're going to use this 1/4 inch piping. Sometimes I use 3/8, but this system is a 1/4 inch base system. And so I'm going to drill a line through the back of the cabinets, pull out the range, go behind there, and attach it to the fridge. Now, I do need a T. This one's kind of nice because you can mount it so it's permanent, so you can put it in there and that, split the one line to the faucet into the fridge. And the nice thing is that once it's mounted, it's not going to unjostle. This one isn't the one I wanted to show you, but it's basically 3 of these same connections. This one happens to be threaded. So, but I think I'm going to go with this guy right here. Okay, so I gotta hook up the supply line from the fridge to the fridge hose, and I'm gonna do a compression fitting. Now, the fridge ice will be pure ice now, because it'll be connected to the RO. And I have my cutter. I'm going to connect this up to the line going to the faucet, so it tees it with this guy right here. So as soon as that pressure is gone, we'll cut it and connect that up and do the blue safety clips. All right, this comes from the fridge, and this is going to split it right here. All right, let me repeat that. So I'm putting this up vertical over here in the corner. There's the shutoff valve on the top. So one of the reasons why we keep these tubes very long is so we can lift it up, take it out here, and change the filters. It'd be a bitch changing them all the way in here. It's nice to change them out here. Put a towel down, and you're good to go. So there we are, one RO system installed, and filtered water right there. So in a minute, I'm going to empty this and then let it fill up again, and then we're going to test the water for the total dissolved solids. So we're going to do that next.